There are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello and welcome, Wanderers. I feel like I have not been with you for some time, having a holiday break, but I'm so happy to be back with you tonight. I see the chat room is filling up. Thank you for your patience as we get everything worked out here in the beginning of our show. I'm so excited for tonight's show, but first I wanted to share with you that tonight and the next 2 weeks will be live shows, and I will not be having live shows the last 2 weeks of December because I'm going to be transitioning a few things with the show. But more about that later. Next week, we have a special friend and return guest joining us per your request. He has joined us a few times throughout the last 6 years of Soul Wanderings, and each time during the show, you've always requested him to return, and it's been way too long. So we'll be bringing back Marty Rawson. And since his time with us, he has written a new book called It Doesn't Have to Be This Way. And he can't wait to share it with you. I'm excited for him to do so. Then the following week, we have another very special guest and a brand new show announcement to share with you. And it is big news. Like big, huge. It's big. And I hope to have you guys join us for tonight and the next 2 weeks. And I hope to have you as excited about the news as I'm going to be and be there to hear all about it. But tonight we have a brand new guest, and I'd like to get as much time with her as possible. So let's get right to it. Tonight we wander with Michelle Carpenter, and she has a gift of seeing into a person's body, mind, and spirit. And she can sense when a person's heart contracts, when it feels sadness or pain, and expands with their vibration shifts in the moment of grieving or allowing vulnerability. She is shown where feelings are held within the body and the mind, working on a deeper level of subconscious programming. She also works with past lives, intergenerational trauma, and ancestral trauma, and connects with the spirit of loved ones who have passed over. She also channels the angelic beings of light called the Council of Eight. And this evening, Michelle will be discussing how to release grief and trauma from our bodies and how intergenerational trauma can affect us, including how past lives play a part in releasing that trauma. And she'll explain to us how she connects in a person's body and energy field to help find the origin of the trauma and start the healing process. She will also talk to us about that Council of Eight, which she channels. And Michelle is visiting with us from New Zealand. Hello, Michelle. Welcome.
Hi, AJ. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. There was a little bit of a glitch, as we know, and and I still thought, I wonder if we're going to talk about the nervous system, and then my nervous system just went off. So I thought, okay, you've created this. Good start.
I know. I was getting anxiety. I'm like, what is happening?
I was like, please, come on, angels, come on, just make this happen. So thank you for having me and your patience.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to have you tonight. I've watched so many of your videos on YouTube, and I just thought, wow, this is going to be a really nice evening with Michelle. Well, afternoon with you, but evening with us. And I'm just so delighted to have you here. And I just want to give a big shout out really quick before we go that we have a full room of chat of listeners, my wanderers. I just want to give them a shout out and thank them for being here with us as well. Thank you, wanderers.
Thank you, guys. No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah. I just need to breathe. Give me 5 minutes.
No, they're amazing humans that show up to wander with us every week. And I'm just so grateful. I just have to recognize them because without them, we would just be hanging out, Michelle.
For sure.
Just you and
For
me.
sure.
Well, thank you for being here. I've been looking forward to our time. We've had you booked for quite a while.
I know, right?
Yeah, I had a long list.
It's like, it's here. I'm like, I remember, I think it was March or April, and I'm like, oh my God, it's here.
Yeah, I booked out guests for the whole year, and I was like,
Wow.
I was really looking forward to this. So thank you.
Me too.
You have quite a beautiful bio, and I love bios. They explain so much about somebody, but no one explains you better than you. So why don't you take a little bit of time and share with us something about yourself?
So I work very multidimensionally in the work that I do, and I love, 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 love the courage and the braveness of every human being that has experienced life, whatever direction that has been, whatever life has been for them. Not one is good, not one is bad, not one is worse, not one is better, in my opinion. And the way I work is, I'm assuming that's what we want to talk about, is like the way I work, or a little bit about how I've come into what I do. Would you want a bit of a mix? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I mean, everything. We're going to have...
My bio can be 15 stories, so like I've got to like...
Well, the good thing about soul wandering is we have 2 hours to wander. And so there's plenty of time. What I like to do is get a feel for who you are before we get into what you do, because what you do happened because of who you are and the experiences you've been through.
Correct.
So, I mean, just go back as far as you feel comfortable, and we'll go from there.
I'm very comfortable to speak about anything and everything. I'm pretty much an open book. And my reason for doing that is in my hope of sharing a bit of my story and a bit of my background, that it helps others to heal, and it helps others to know that we've all got a story on some level, or and it's I'm here right now, and again, I kind of like want to pinch myself, going, oh my goodness, like how did this happen? But it's come with work, and it's come with healing, and it's come with a massive amount of past trauma in this lifetime, and it's come with even my nervous system. I'm still, as I'm sitting here, I'm going, Michelle, just calm down, just breathe, because I could feel I was completely I was taken into my sympathetic because we didn't have the link, so I was like, okay, just calm down. So I think it's beautiful to share with everybody that the work I'm still doing on myself is continuous. And obviously I want to show up and be like, okay, I'm calm, I'm grounded, I've got this together. Like I wanted to say I've got my shit together, but I don't.
Who does, right?
Yeah. Overall, the labels that I am is I am married to a beautiful man, so I'm a wife, who has been one of my biggest teachers in this life. And I have 2 beautiful children. I come originally from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. That's where I was born. And then we had a government takeover in 1981, and my parents decided to flee the country, and we left with very minimal amount of, I think my mom and dad had like 6 or 7 boxes, and we got onto a train and we got to South Africa. We went to South Africa where my dad got a job, and I was around about 8 or 9 years old. Prior to that, in Zimbabwe, I was sexually abused by one of my mother's brothers, her younger brother. And this is all kind of the sort of the developing and the nudging that I've gone through in my own healing journey to start doing the work that I do. So that's a little bit about my background. Got to South Africa, arrived in the apartheid era, didn't know it was a thing, didn't know it was as big as what I've come to learn about it as an adult. And slowly but surely, as life has happened, I've kind of just over the years, I just suppressed my emotions. And I was told I was a very dramatic teenager. I was a very emotional teenager. I was a very angry teenager. And I didn't even know what that meant. But over time, again, as I've worked on myself more, I've gone, that's how come my body manifested that, or that's how come my body manifested that. So I was a dancer. I did ballet and modern for many, many years in both countries. And I then had bulimia as a teenager, which I don't have the typical ballerina figure, like they're slim, they're thin. I have what I'm very grateful for J-Lo coming out many, many years ago with the buttocks. Because I was like, okay, if only this was like 10 years prior, I could have owned my buttocks. But part of that owning or non-owning was self-hatred because I never fitted the mold. And part of my anger and the suppression that I had was also being sexually abused and being told to keep that secret. And if I don't know how much you would like me to share, or how, I'm very aware of not wanting to trigger anybody if they are watching. But it was quite brutal in what had happened to me. And again, I just suppressed all of this, and then had bulimia, lost a best friend at the age of 16 and a half. She had a kidney transplant and it didn't take. And then I just got into relationships where my dad had affairs. He was in the Rhodesian War, so he was young when he got involved and married to my mother. And then this just became a pattern in my life. I'd get involved with guys that either just loved me but smothered me, and then I'd think of them as weak, or get involved with guys that were just like the bad boys, and then they would leave me for another woman. And this obviously developed over time, and it just brought up more and more anger about myself. I was like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? And at the age of 24, I knocked over and killed a young girl. I was a sales rep in most of my working life in the corporate world. And it was meant to be a wake-up call, but it wasn't for me. All I did was suppress it. I was told to go see a counselor, and I did, and she was going to put me on antidepressants. I flatly refused because my mom's mom was on antidepressants and had many nervous breakdowns for a very long time. And so I just was completely resistant to it, suppressed it, sucked it up, and kept going, and just lived under complete fight, flight, and fright. And I've come to realize, even moving to New Zealand, which we've now been in this country for 6 years, I'm still working with my nervous system. I'm still working with my fight, flight, fright. Just a simple experience of you and I having that little moment. It's like I could feel my kidneys going to overwhelm. I could feel my head. I was like, okay, breathe, Michelle, breathe, And sometimes it's like all the tools in the box, and it's just like, just breathe. It's okay. It's okay. And you're very receptive and beautiful. Your energy is just amazing to just help a person calm down. Fast forward to 33. I was married, and I had been in a very abusive relationship. So in 1 year, I'd been in a relationship, built a house with a guy that I'd known for many, many years. It became quite abusive verbally and physically. And I used to push him. I used to push him to almost give me that, go ahead, give me an excuse to leave, which just sounds completely warped. But that was how I used to give back, give me an excuse, any excuse, because the verbal then started becoming a sort of a slap on the side, and then a push up against the wall. And 3 months later, I'd moved out of there. I was headhunted by a company as a sales rep. 8 months, all in all, I was made redundant. And then in the December, knocked over and killed this young girl. Went on holiday, saw a counselor, one session. She wanted to give me the antidepressants, and I said to her no. So I went on this rip-roaring holiday, partied hard, and within a few days met my now ex-husband. And within 2 months got married, 2 months got engaged, and 8 months got married. Pretty ridiculous. When you sit back in that beautiful word hindsight, you're going, what the hell was I thinking?
Hindsight, right, yeah.
That beautiful word. And he also had decided to leave me and see another woman, and I had at the time, a little baby girl. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me, or for me, should I say, not to me, because to me feels like a blame, for me. And I went to go see a clairvoyant, and I was just like, oh man, I've got to help myself with my anger. Like, this anger is not serving, it wasn't serving my body. Like, I'd have profuse, like, sorry, did I even say that correctly? I think I did. Profusely bleeding, heavy periods, sorry, but like heavy periods. And my body kept showing me that it was just in the state of flux all the time. And went to a clairvoyant, and he just said, Michelle, you just don't know how to love yourself. You just sound like you haven't been on this journey of self-love, and you haven't been nourished, and you haven't been nurtured. And I was like, what do you mean? And then I went on a weekend away course. Yes, foreign language. It felt like it was like over there, and it belonged to everybody else. And that made me even more angry, because I was like, just help me with my anger. And then he suggested going on a weekend away course, which was a division of hospice. And I went on this amazing weekend, and the facilitator that I chose, and she chose me on some level, beautiful woman, had a very similar path to myself, with sexually abuse, husband cheating on her, also knocking over and killing a young girl. Beautiful, beautiful earth angel in my eyes. And this was 9 years later, after knocking over and killing the young girl. And she got me to feel how I felt about knocking over this young soul. And I was devastated, AJ. Oh my gosh, I cried so hard, it felt like my head was splitting open. I mean, there were massage therapists on this weekend away, and everybody was giving me medication and massages, and nothing helped. They had to literally just put me to bed, because I just couldn't, I couldn't imagine taking a life in that moment, even though I had. And it was devastating.
Was that the first time that you actually allowed yourself to feel that experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, I went to, again, work through the devastation of my ex leaving, living in London. My understanding of family was like, we've always got to be together. We've always got to do things together. And I wasn't aware at the time that he was backwards and forwards between London and South Africa, where he was already with this other woman. And that's what blew my mind, because the facilitator kept pushing and sort of getting me to go down and down and down and down and down and down and down into all the different feelings you can imagine, and that we could verbalize. And it was just complete and utter unraveling of everything with that specific story. And that story was massive. You know, you would have thought that knocking over a young girl, which she was a very pivotal part of my journey, interesting enough, because she's come to me when I've gone into hypnosis sessions and that. And she was my wake-up call, but she wasn't the wake-up call that I suppose he had hoped for, wanted, obviously. But she was just a beautiful part of how, and that was like 9 years later, fast forward. What I went for was to work through the devastation, my marriage not working. And I'm very, very, very grateful to my ex-husband, because, again, he was a pivotal part in my journey to wake up to myself. And so then I just went on this massive exploration of learning neurolinguistic programming, channeling, yoga teacher training. And I was just like the sponge. I just wanted more and more and more. And I just wanted to heal. And the more I wanted, the more I sort of unraveled. It's like, eventually I was like, okay, Michelle, just stop. Just stop on the healing. But that I've come to learn is who I am. It's like, come on, I deep dive. And in this whole learning experience for myself, and my grief, my trauma, the fleeing of my parents leaving Zimbabwe, the fear that my parents held on to, the fear that my mom held on to with my dad being a Rhodesian soldier. We used to sleep in my mother's bed, and she used to lock the door. The anxiety or the fear of holding on to my grandmother's intergenerational trauma of her always being, in homes or on medication. This has been the unraveling that has happened in my specific journey. And I have really found it at times to be incredibly challenging. The work has been hard. I've kicked, I've screamed, I've cried, and I've cried and I've cried. And
Mhm.
through the tears, I've realized that that's where the healing for me has happened. The big part of my journey was being taught not to cry as a little girl.
Mhm.
So I held it all here. I had my tonsils out at the age of 21, but I always had throat infections. I always had bronchitis. That's the grieving part, the lungs, not being able to breathe. But my expression was my dancing.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating, up until about 3-4 weeks ago, I was chatting to a friend of mine who's an ex-osteopath who's now working very much in the realms of spiritualness and energy. And we were talking about nervous systems, and we were talking about how I was a heavy dancer. Like I have a lot of musicality, and I'm very good with, the flow of music. But as a ballerina, I could never jump the way others could jump in the class. And I'd be like, what am I missing? And basically what happened was my hips and my thighs were holding on to all the trauma from my sexual abuse. So I just never felt elevated. I never felt like I could lift. I don't know. Does it make any sense? I don't know if you
Yeah,
come from a
actually, it does actually.
Okay.
It's just we have a lot of similarities in the way that you um, went through your experiences, the trauma, the abuse, and holding on to the energy and repressing the emotions, and they were trapped inside of your body, which created new experiences for you to observe. I relate to that completely in my own way. Yes.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because that's also so important. I feel where a lot of us, as empaths, the empaths that we are, it's really important for me to know what's mine and what's yours,
Mm-hmm.
and your sharing of your story. Because often I hear from friends and clients, well, I feel everybody's stuff. And I'll say, well, what's your stuff? Well, I don't know. And I'll say, okay, well, let's help you find what yours is, so that the triggers, that's why I'm also just aware as best as I can be to not overshare, because that was always my thing. I'd meet a guy and I'd be like, this happened to me. And you could see the guy was like, what? I don't know what to do with that. That's a whole bunch of information. And it can absolutely trigger somebody,
Mm-hmm.
if they have been, or they haven't, sorry, if they have been abused, but if they haven't started to work on that old trauma that's within their cells or their muscles or their organs. It sits so deeply sometimes, and a lot of us are just scared to go there.
Yeah, to actually feel those, yeah, to feel those experiences. Uh,
Yeah,
a lot of people that I've been able to have conversations with have gone through some sort of trauma. I mean, we all go through trauma, right, on different levels,
sure.
but um, they have found themselves on this side of things where you are at now, where I am now, um, digging deeper into the purpose and meaning of those experiences. And a lot of times those show up through spirituality or some type of medium that is in this realm. I've always wondered why that is, because we don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what happens after here. We all can assume or share the experiences what we think we know, but no one really knows what the
Mhm.
truth is or why we go through these experiences. But it's interesting to me that here you are, another human being, have gone through these experiences, and you're showing up on the platform that you are with your authentic truth, even though it's not beautiful when you share it. It's very tragic and sad, but you've turned it into something to help other people. I always wonder how, like me, you, a ton of other people I've had time to spend with go through such horrible things, yet we have this deep desire to continually work on the trauma and heal the trauma the best way we know how in order to show up for other people.
Yes, and well, a big starting point for me was having my little baby girl.
Mm-hmm.
And, a trauma is, for me, is the feeling. We could call the feeling rejection, abandonment, hurt, pain, but it's just the feeling that sits within the body. And my little girl was an absolute huge part of my change, but I had to realize that I had to do it for me as much as I was doing it for her, because I wanted to change. I didn't want to be my mother. Doesn't mean that I don't behave like my mother at times, especially in menopause. Like, okay, that was a
That's just
Veronica
the moral of
moment.
the story, right?
Yeah, that's a
So
whole.
hormone,
It's
hormone.
kind of like, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, that was teenager Michelle. Got to work with that one, because my daughter's 18, turning 19, and sometimes I just have to sort of go back into, like, Michelle, you are the mother here, you're not the teenager, but the programmings are deep. Because I remember my mom being so similar, like she just wanted to be with me and my friends. And so it really is a learning for me. But yes, her godparents, my daughter's godparents, had lost their son to suicide at a very young age. He was 16 at the time. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boy. And I remember saying to his mom, my daughter's godmother, she is my oxygen to breathe. And she said to me, no, Michelle, you can't do that. That's not fair to her. And I went, I remember standing back and going, it's a very wise comment to say, because that's responsibility. That's giving her the responsibility of carrying my burden.
Right.
And my joy. And it's obviously not to say that our kids don't give us joy, or my kids 100%, but it was such a learning to go, Michelle, do it for you. Become better for you. And in becoming better for me, I'm hoping that I became a better mother.
Yeah. Why do you think we do that, Michelle? We give our like, I've done it. I have one son, and I did the same thing to him before I realized what I was doing. I put on so much responsibility, like, he is my purpose. He is my reason. He's the reason why I get up in the morning. And then when he grew up and moved away and had his life, I was like, I can't breathe. He is everything to me. What am I going to do now that I don't have him? And I had to go through this huge, I'm still going through it. I mean, he's been gone for a couple of years, but I'm still going through it. Like, who am I? What's my life purpose without him? But I put so much responsibility on him for being my why. Why are we so good at doing that and not recognizing that we are worth loving that hard? We are worth loving that much.
Yes.
We just give it away like that, especially with our children, and give them that responsibility instead of giving our own selves that responsibility of learning to love ourselves. Like, we're the reason why we breathe. Why do you think that we do that?
So that's an amazing question. And I feel like there's like a whole bunch of there's not one specific answer to that for me. My one possibility would be that for me, I didn't feel loved and nourished by my mother. So I feel that I don't know, I've just had this real sense that that my parents it was easier to have boys. I've got an older brother and a younger brother. And I sort of came along and they were like, we don't know what to do with this. So I think that's one level of it, is how we've been conditioned. And, and how, and what we observed. I mean, my mother was a very angry woman. And something, again, that these are just, again, the other levels of wanting to be different, wanting to show up differently, is because people pleasing. I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's a wonderful neuroscientist called Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she spoke about fight, flight, fright, and fawn. And I never heard of fawn. Fawn is the people pleaser, the knee-jerk reaction. But I'll do it. I'll show up for you. No, I can do that. And in that is another level of rescuing others. Because...
And also avoiding.
100%, exactly. So, for a very long time, I feel like I lived this life of disassociation, just because my body, everything, my mind, my little body, everything was just felt like too much with my parents. And I'm coming to realize that the adult in me goes, well, they did the best they could, but the little girl inside of me, which I am connecting with on a daily basis, and every now and again when I go through healings, she's still devastated because she didn't get what she thought she wanted, So that's just another part of the way I was conditioned. So I feel that a lot of it is projection.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought for me was, when I had my daughter, is that she was going to give me everything that I didn't know or understand or even try and figure out how to give to myself. And I was a massive rescuer, and drama was my thing. Not drugs, not alcohol, not shopping. Drama was what I created as an addiction. As soon as I wasn't busy, and as soon as I wasn't moaning about somebody else or victimizing myself or blaming somebody else, and I'm talking about my family and friends and people didn't do what I wanted to do, I would create a drama of some sorts. So do you see how it's so multi-leveled and multi-layered? And I'm sorry if I don't have the specific answer, because I'm still trying to work it out myself, but it just is the fact that I feel like a lot of it is about the projection of this little person was going to give me everything that I never had.
Right.
And I'm still figuring out what I never had.
And I don't think there's one specific answer either. I feel like it's different for all of us. And none of it is wrong and none of it is right. It's all an experience.
For sure. That is beautiful, because we all have our own experiences. And my sense is that in these experiences, that when we allow them and they sort of just pass through us, and then we sort of, I look back sometimes and I go, wow, that was my life. Wow.
Isn't that
Holy mother. Wow, look where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And that's part of my want. One thing I wanted to say to you was, I feel like a sense of purpose, or there's such a huge amount of sort of, we've all got this, what's my purpose, and I feel that so much pressure that's put onto us nowadays. Or I've taught myself that right now my purpose is to be here, and I'm talking to this beautiful woman sitting opposite me, and is that not purpose enough? But I feel like as soon as it's like, what's my purpose? It's all out there as opposed to being in here.
We're not in the present moment.
We're not in the present moment, exactly. And there's such a displacement, I feel, in society, and I see it a lot in the work that I do. Is, Michelle, can you tell me what my purpose is? And I'm like, well, what happens if it's just to breathe right now? Let's help you just get your vibration to feel a little bit lighter, that you can, if somebody joins and they're all contracted and it's like, well, how do you feel? Oh my gosh, I feel a little bit lighter. And that's a great purpose, but it's there's always a seeking. And I think that's what we seek to understand.
I think we do seek to understand, and we're also seeking for answers outside of us constantly.
Yes.
We're looking for the why and the how and the whatever that is for us. And we're not realizing that if we were to be still within ourselves and present in that moment, the answers are always right there within us. And we're just so good at looking outside of us and not realizing that that's unnecessary. And it's a bunch of energy we're sending out that isn't coming back to us. It's only causing us more internal chaos.
Yes. And you've hit it spot on, because even to go back to the time of when I went on this weekend at hospice and I started my own journey of taking back my own responsibility, the ability to respond. And it was just easy for me to always point the fingers as opposed to being within and sitting in a quiet space. And I didn't know how to do that. I still, when I'm triggered and when I go into my my PTSD, it's kind of like I don't know what to do with myself, and I have to go either into the garden or go for a walk, or I go into cold water to just bring myself back. because I feel like I'm so out there.
Mhm.
And this beautiful facilitator that I met, and she walked with me on my journey for many years to help me to heal. And she used to say to me, Mish, you've got it inside of you. And I said, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean.
Mhm.
I also grew up in a church environment. So I was always taught that it's, Jesus is outside, God is outside. We got to pray to that person because that person's going to fix us and that person's going to help us. And that's what my absolute desire in this life is, to help other beautiful human beings say, no, it's in,
Yeah.
trust. But when we've got these busy minds, and that's exactly what happened. My mind was so chaotic, and I just lived in the beta brain, and my body was just in flux continuously.
Mhm.
And so I didn't know, like, what do you mean I've got to meditate? Where do I even start? Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
And I've had to learn. I'm still learning to slow down. I'm still learning to, okay, Michelle, just navigate it. Just talk to your body, bring it back. It's like a kind of a gentle nudging with dough,
Yeah.
and it's bringing the energy back. But it's a teaching, and we're not monks sitting on a mountain. I wish, maybe a past life.
Well, some of us may want that. I don't know if that I would be disciplined enough to do that, and I'm kind of all over the place. It's it's a
I
good
love
thing.
it.
It's a good thing and a not so good thing, but
Yeah, sure.
I really feel like I don't know if we ever personally completely heal from trauma, but I feel like it's always good to be aware that it could show up at any moment, not in like a worry sense, like, oh my gosh, my trauma is going to show up anytime. But when it does, be aware that it's there and have the tools that we've learned through our healing to bring us out of that state, right? Where you're feeling that anxiety and you're feeling that fear and that trauma's showing up for you physically or emotionally or however that looks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like trauma is always going to peek its way into your experiences from time to time, no matter how much you heal it? Or do you feel like at one point in your life it's just going to be gone?
I feel like both.
Mm-hmm.
If I look back again on even, 3-4 years ago, and where I was at in comparison to where I'm at now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm most certainly more joyful, more fun. And yet, as an example, last week or the week before, my son was sitting in the back of the car, and this is where the moments happen. Is where he was playing with something with one of his friends, and they hit this packet and had this loud explosion, and I didn't obviously expect it, and it completely set me off. And then not even 5 minutes later, a young kid was riding behind me on his scooter, and I was already in that traumatic response.
Mm-hmm.
So a big part of my learning is to be in it, because I've dissociated for many, many years of my life. So I've become the observer. Okay. Two things within the space of 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, Michelle, you're in it. Okay. And I feel that for me, again, it affects my brain waves big time. And I'm still learning about the science behind how we do get affected. But I went and I sat on some wood, and I just started to breathe myself back in. So by the time my kid and his friends had finished their basketball game, I felt more grounded in my body. So I feel like it happens for the experience, for the noticing. Sometimes it throws me off kilter,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more the becoming the observer of like, okay, this is happening. I get you. I see you. Whereas previously, 4 or 5 years ago, I used to say to myself, okay, how old are you? What are you doing? What's going on? What is this about? Overanalyze. Okay, Louise Hay. Let me open up the Louise Hay book. What is this about? What is this about? How's this making me feel? How's this making me feel? And that just puts more pressure for
Mm-hmm.
me to access. And I've just learned over time, okay, Michelle, you know that you're on. I could feel I went into a frustrated mode. okay, Michelle, what do you need to do? Alrighty, go and sit, because that's what works for me. And then when I go for therapy, that's when I go really, really deep, or the person that's working with me is the one that helps me to access that root. Because sometimes unconsciously, I don't know what the root is. It was just
Right.
in that moment, I was triggered. So when I watch the Gabor Mates and the late Louise Hay, I don't know if you know beautiful Louise Hay.
You
She
can
was a
heal
big
your
part of
life.
my starting of journey, yes, of my journey. She most certainly, they were all working on themselves. Dr. Gabor Mate still is working on, he'll say, I'm still working on, I'm going for therapy. And if that's, those are my mentors that I watch and I go, it's admirable, it's courageous.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's there, but the joy gets better as we release. Have you found the same on your journey?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just even in the last few years, it's gotten even more so where I'm in awareness of when I'm triggered. And I'm like, I haven't even thought about that or felt about that in so long. Why is it showing up for me now? Where before I would have to know the answer and try to figure that out. Now I'm just in awareness that it has shown up. But I have different tools now where I still remain, is more calm than ever before
Mm-hmm.
and aware of it and allow it to work through me instead of trying to figure out why it has shown up for me. And I feel like anyone who's constantly or for the most part working on healing themselves gets to that point. And I don't feel that it ever stops because there's always work to be done. But we don't
Mm-hmm.
ever get to a point where we're like, oh yeah, I'm healed and I'm perfect. I don't
Yes.
know any one person like that, and if they're saying that, I don't know if that's real. For my truth, I don't believe that to be true. I feel like there's always work to be done. I mean, that is the purpose of us being here in this human experience, is to have these experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, and heal them or work through them or celebrate them or whatever that looks like for us.
For sure. And that, for me, I describe it as we have millions of cells, trillions of cells, and every cell has a memory.
Yeah.
And, it's for me, I like to keep, and I've learned over time to keep my journey simple.
Mm-hmm.
AJ, I didn't even realize that until we came to New Zealand, which we came for safety. I had no idea that my husband and I are working through PTSD. That was for everybody else. And then a friend said to me the once, well, Michelle, are you, where are you at with you? And I was like, huh? What do you mean I've got PTSD? You would have thought I would have known that in the work that I do. But I just didn't. It wasn't brought into my awareness until it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is the learning of our work and our human experience.
Right. It was given a name and it was given a title, so you were able to look at it differently.
Yes. Yes. For me, I would just be in it, and the triggers and every time my husband would, and I would perhaps have a disagreement or an argument and things would flare up. I didn't even know. It was just, okay, this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel sometimes as a human, that makes us feel comfortable when we've got the label, when we've got the aha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what it is. And, for me, again, the trauma lies within the feeling. And it's just helping the nervous system to gently nudge that feeling out and then recreate the calm, the serenity, the harmony, the peace inside of our body, and slowing our heart rate down when we're going into those anxious moments.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
I
it's
think
quicker,
that,
sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
yeah, and I think that's the most important is understanding that there are different levels and that we do have control of what those look like when they show up. From learning, right? From having experience after experience, they can become softer.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful way of putting it. And we become softer. They become softer, so we become softer. And that's where we go into that beautiful space of knowing. And that's where we go into that beautiful space of compassion and kindness. And we let go so much more of our judgments around others. And that's what I love to describe on anybody's journey, is like we're here between the bridge of Michelle the human and Michelle the spiritual, and Michelle the spiritual and Michelle the human. And we're navigating as we go along. I'm navigating my journey, but at the same time, on a soul level or a heart space, when we're in that, everything is peaceful.
It can be. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
It does take practice. It does take practice.
So much practice.
Sometimes I'm like,
and
more times than not in the recent years, right?
Yes.
It is like a muscle. It's just something you strengthen, and it becomes stronger and stronger with the more experience that you have.
Yes. And it's experiencing the losses. You were talking earlier on, or we were talking earlier on about our children and just what we didn't know at the time. And for me, again, it's working through the different spaces of being in the grieving, of being in our vulnerability, of being in the loss of what shows up. A loss for me was, again, you and I not having the connection, because I knew, and I triple check my times just to make sure that everything is on time because of the time difference, and I'm a day ahead of the States. But already that starts to put me into a state of flux, So it's something so small that could just be that poof moment,
right?
And then it just takes that time as I'm here, but I'm talking to my body, And it took me a good few minutes to just say it's okay. And that for me is the flexibility of who we are as the energy and the spiritual beings that we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's really neat when we come to a place in our journey of that awareness. Like, I was in that moment, I wasn't freaking out or anything. I could feel some anxiety coming up, but I was like, what will be, because there's nothing I could do to control this situation, where before I wanted to control and be like, no, it has to be this way, which is also a trauma response, because I always wanted something, the experience, I had expectations tied to them, right? 100%. But when you let that go, you're just like, oh, it'll all work out. It always does. It always works out in the end. If it hasn't worked out, it's not the end. And it's all good. So you're here, and I'm so grateful, and you are so beautifully and authentically. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable with us. We're going to take our break for the show, just one tonight, you guys. So we're going to do that. And when we get back, we'll continue our wandering with Michelle. So stay close. We'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
It's not just a donation.
It's a warm blanket.
It's a bottle of clean water.
It's a roof and a bed.
It's knowing someone cares.
It's feeling safe.
It's a today that's better than yesterday.
Every dollar you can spare helps so much more than you can imagine. Please, donate now to help people affected by Hurricane Ian. Your support is urgently needed.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Hello, my beautiful wanderers. Welcome back. We are soul wandering tonight with Michelle Carpenter. Thank you all so much for being here. We are hosted on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, and I invite you all to visit kgradb.com. That's where you can find my show and many others. There's also a members-only area where you can get behind-the-scenes content. You'll want to check that out. There's a free trial option. There's also a discount code of SOUL21, SOUL21. If you would like to sign up for an annual membership, you can save 30% by doing that. It also helps support the station so we can continue to bring you amazing shows and all this good stuff behind the scenes. So we can help you in your curiosity and building your big, beautiful brains. I hope to find you guys there. You can also learn more about myself at soulwanderings.com and what I am up to and what I'm doing, and continue to visit every week as we wander with a new guest. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Michelle.
Thank you for having me, AJ. I feel so honored, really. Again, I have to pinch myself. I'm like, is this me?
Well, that's what you do when you do the work. You get to show up and share your story with thousands of people. It's so good. And you have quite a story. You've been through so much in your life. And I really love what you have chosen to show up to do because of the experiences you've been through. And I think it's really neat when people go through the tremendous amount of experiences that you've gone through, and instead of going towards the dark and being in that darkness, they choose the light instead, and also not only for themselves but to assist other people in their experiences. I know for me personally, it was so important for me to show up that way, not just for myself, but when I was going through what I was going through, I really didn't have anyone around to guide me or lead me. And when I started finding those people, I really looked up to them and wanted to be in those situations where I could show up for other people as well, like pay it forward, if you will. But it's just become who I am and part of my life so much. And I see that in you through the work that you do. And it's so important that we all show up for each other in this way, no matter what we've been through, because we're not meant to go through these experiences alone. And the work you do is important. So thank you for choosing the light and showing up in the way that you have. It's so beautiful. We got to know about you and your experiences in the first hour, but what you've chosen to do with those experiences, I'd really like to learn more about. And I know our listeners would too. So you have discovered your gifts and abilities through your life, going through what you've gone through. First, do you feel like those gifts have always been with you, or did you feel like they were given to you from your experiences? And what are your superpowers? What are those gifts and abilities that you share with everyone?
Would you mind asking the first question? How did you ask it? Just so I can, the first,
Well,
how did
yeah. So, well, now I can't do it word for word. I just speak from here.
Sorry, it was
But
about the
let's see, to
experiences.
paraphrase,
Yeah.
how do you feel like the experiences that you had gave you your gifts and abilities, or have you had them all along and like sporadically have used them through your life, or is it something that you discovered through your trauma?
Something I discovered through my trauma. And thank you for repeating it, because it is
No
kind of like, that was just where I was like, oh, I don't know how to
I'm
answer
really
it.
good at run-on questions. Like, I could talk about questions over and over and not take the pause. So thank you for putting me in my place.
No.
No, it's so good.
No, because I sort of heard the second part and I was like, damn it, how am I going to answer this, But I just want to be on point and know that I'll answer it authentically and that I can answer it in its fullness. But for me, in my experience, being the medium that I am, mine was that the healing happened through the trauma. And that's how come I feel that I really want to, we're born from this knowing, AJ. You have a son, I have 2 children. Not once when we were pregnant did we have to say, okay, baby, now grow toes. Okay, babies, now you need to get fingernails. Oh gosh, we forgot, they need 10 fingers. Or they need ears. We just grew from this beautiful source, this knowing. And then, we come into the world and then we're conditioned, programmed, our belief systems are set up and we experience the trauma that we do in whichever way that is. And as I started to, I've always realized that I'm always being navigated and guided by angels. But it was, again, always outside of me because I was a reborn Christian for many, many years. And it was always like, well, it happens there, not in here. And I put my faith and trust in people. But just to go back to when I was 16, and this is just how I was being guided. When my friend was passing over, she was in hospice in Johannesburg. And I remember sitting, watching, and her parents had just come from a counseling session with one of the facilitators. And I remember watching the woman as a young 16-year-old thinking, how is she holding it together right now? How is she's surrounded by death and she's not falling to pieces. And I remember thinking so distinctly, I want to be like that one day. And that was already somewhere in my contract of this lifetime. It was already starting to happen. And with going to work for hospice, I was a part-time caregiver. And then through my studies and my letting go of my own experiences and my own trauma, my consciousness, because I was a heavy energy, carrying all of that. My dad was a very big drinker. I came to discover he was a weekend alcoholic, also raged. My mother, was an angry woman, also drank a lot of alcohol. It's just the day and age of what we grew up in. There was a lot of partying happening. But as an example, something small like my mom saying to me, Michelle, well, do you want to go and sleep in the car? Or do you want to, I've got your bed and blanket, do you want to sleep under the table? As a mother, I would have never have wanted to do that or ever, it just didn't feel right to me. So these are the memories that I've had as I've released. And as I've released the heaviness, the intensity of what my body was holding on to, the more I've ascended, the more I've let go and realized that there's more. And that we're fractals and that we're part of something that is perhaps, you said it early on, part of something that we still perhaps don't even know until we leave these physical bodies. So yes, mine has been through experience, and I truly, truly, truly know in my heart that if I can do it, I can help others walk this journey. And they may not be a medium or a psychic or a grief and trauma intuitive or whatever the labels that I've given myself. Yet, in them allowing me to walk with them and honor them on their journeys, they can then help somebody else. And that's the vibration that I just want to share with everybody. It's like, well, the more we let go, well, it's going for a coffee with a beautiful person and just saying, holding space for them and just sitting and listening, as opposed to giving advice. You need to do this, you need to do that. So that's how I've learned. And part of my work that I do is I connect into the energy field. I'm shown the blueprint of their body. And what happens is when I connect with the person, whether it be online on Zoom or somebody who's sitting here in my therapy room, or I put them on my bed, is that I align with them in my energy. So I start to feel what they're holding on to. And obviously I also observe. And I say obviously because that's a big part of my seeing that comes into it, the unconscious body language. When a client's saying, well, I don't want to deal with, my little inner child. And I'm like, well, your inner child's inside of you. And would you talk to me like that? Because so you see how there's the way they've been conditioned, but also it's challenging talking to our little person who's been through a lot, whatever a lot is, and helping them to feel safe in this world. And part of my knowing is working with a client. I say that we multidimensional in the moment, and I work very much in the present moment. So a past life will come in, but a past life is playing itself out right here, right now. And I'll get people to admit and acknowledge, no, sorry, not admit, that feels very arrogant to say that. I'll get a person to feel how they feel about that past life, because they might have throat energy where they can't speak up. I notice their breathing, and I'm in it. I'm with them, and I'm just feeling in my body. And a big part of my experience and my learning, and so many people have projected this onto me, is like, oh my God, Michelle, you must feel exhausted after the day. And I don't, because I'm in it with them. We're all connected. But when I'm done for the day, I go back into Michelle. Even after sessions, I give myself a 15-minute break between each session. And if it was a real massive moment of vulnerability with a client where they are absolutely in awe of what they've held on to, in that allowing, I would just take a few moments, to breathe, or I play my tuning forks. But I work, in the past life, and then I'm shown the blueprint, and I really, in the moment, feel when the heart contracts. And I call it sadness, but it's when it just contracts into this lower vibration. And as soon as they feel that, I would give them the words of, so are you perhaps feeling a little bit sad right now? And they say, oh my God, how did you feel that? But it's creating the awareness for a client to say, okay, just connect mind to body. Because often, we're like this. This is how I lived most of my life. Head here, body here. But out there, I drove people mad. I still do. So when I'm in a traumatic space or state, I really have to just navigate and bring myself back into alignment. Mm-hmm. And that's how I work is and when I can feel the heart expand, contraction for me, we're vibration. So contraction for me is just that little gentle nudging. Mm-hmm. So if a client comes and like, oh, when I'm doing a reading on them, I'd say, well, you've got stuff going on in your neck or your hip, and that's building trust with the clients. And then slowly but surely the connection happens to get them into their body, so they start to feel what they're holding on to. Mm-hmm. And this is where the intergenerational trauma or the ancestral trauma comes into it.
Do you feel like working with your clients, they're aware beforehand just how much trauma they're holding on to, or is that something that shows up through the therapies with you?
It differs from client to client. If I've had a great privilege of working with people who've just started on their journeys and they have a sense that they're holding on to a lot, and they'll say, Michelle, I don't know where to start. That would be in an email. I feel like I've had so much go on, And the beauty of even what you're doing, AJ, is that there's so much information out there nowadays. So I think this is helping people to connect to, hang on, even in our sharings of our stories, hang on, I didn't know sexual abuse was wrong until I was a teenager. I didn't know I was sexually abused.
Right.
Didn't know it was a thing. I just thought, that's what happens. And I now want to get this great feeling and share it with everybody else.
Right.
And that's where I started playing doctor with people. So I think that I have the privilege of working with people who've done a lot on their own journeys and worked with themselves, and people are quite new to the whole experience. And sometimes, again, just working in the present moment, our minds can play such tricks on us and make it massive. But the reality is, when we go into the body, it may just be a feeling or a vibration of a breath. Just breathe out the anger,
Right.
and then just breathe in expansion. What do you mean? I'm not an angry person. Well, it's just an emotion. Just see it as an emotion, because we've been told so much about what different emotions are at the same time. So I have both. I'm very privileged to work with a lot of people who have a lot of experience, and that's when it becomes easy. When somebody's like, just bring it, man, bring it on. Like, let's dive deep.
Right.
And yet at the same time, when somebody's coming in a state of fight, flight, or fawn, and they're so nervous to experience what vulnerability feels like.
Yeah.
I say to clients, it is very scary. It
It
is.
really wants to feel it, but the way that you feel afterwards it's so, it's exhilarating in a way, right?
Yes.
You realize how much you have been holding on to. But my next question would be for those who haven't had really any major trauma, if you will, in their life now, but are having experiences. How do you, let me think about this. You talk about intergenerational trauma and ancestral patterns and that energy that is with each and every one of us. How do you determine or figure out where that trauma is coming from? If it is from a past life, or if it is from something that maybe they repressed in this life. Is that something you feel? Is that something you see?
Yeah, so when I connect with the person, my client sitting opposite me or here, already my body's starting to connect into the energy field. And so my body's starting to feel where the nudging needs to take place. Let's just put it like that. I'll start to feel like my knees all of a sudden. I think, but my knees are okay. And then the client will come, and as we start to go in, and literally it's taking them into their bodies. And often I'll take them into an organ. For me, in the work I do, our livers obviously detoxify, but our livers hold on to resentment and anger. And a client, who doesn't have their voice, they might get really blotchy around. So that's where I'm watching I'm watching the physical, but I'm being guided on a continuous basis. My guides are saying, you've got to take them back to when she was 2 or 3 years old. And the client will say, no, but I've done work when I was 2 or 3 years old. And I say, well, how much have you experienced in the feelings of what you've held on to? And again, when we go into their bodies, the client gets the answers. And for me, that is empowerment. For me, that's, again, I'm walking with them on their journeys, but I'll use the liver as an example. Okay, well, what's the color of your liver? Oh, brown. And I say, okay. And then, I'm just showing you by my face, oh, brown, and I say, oh, okay, there's more. And then my team are guiding me and saying, okay, go deeper. And I say, okay, well, what are the feelings in this brown? And then they start to give me the feelings. And I say, well, let's ask your intuition. Let's ask your guidance. Is this your mother's? Is this your father's? And then that's when and then sometimes I'll be shown a story of like a client that I had who had knee issues. I said, I'm being shown a musket and a grandfather. And I'm being shown by your guides that this is 11, 12 generations back of what you're holding on to in your body. And I completely trust the information that comes through in the moment. And I use music, especially when a client is afraid to let go. I'll just say, just listen to the words, and that gets them really into their deep connection of self. And this client went on an ayahuasca journey, and he came back and he said, "Oh my goodness, Michelle, you were so correct. It was this grandfather figure came to me in my ayahuasca journey." So I've had to learn to trust the guidance that comes through, and trust what the client is showing me, and trust what I'm being shown. And that's working on the spiritual level, because everything's energy and we're all connected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you have the ability to trust. Like I said earlier, the answers are all inside of us, yet we seek others for those answers, right? Because we haven't learned to trust ourselves yet. And it is a journey of learning to trust ourselves alongside of learning to love ourselves and connecting with our inner child. We forget that they're inside of us. That's been, I think, one of the biggest journeys for me in my lifetime is I shouldn't say lifetime, but yeah, it is a lifetime thing, but more so now than ever is nurturing little me, because my experiences weren't, when you go through trauma as a young child, as you know, you lose out on being a kid. You lose out on and knowing and having those experiences that other children have that didn't have those experiences. And so you don't have the same connection to self that those other people have the opportunity to have. And reconnecting with your inner child could be a huge healing opportunity. And that builds the trust. That is one of the big things that can build that trust for you.
Massive. And as you're talking, you put your hand on your heart, and that's where it all is.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where it all is. That's where, yeah. And I have a photo of my little Michelle, who's 2 years old, and I look up at her and hi, how are you doing today? I talk to her all the time, and when I'm working with that little person inside of me, I'll treat her to an ice cream, or I'll treat her to, a walk, or so. Absolutely, there's so often the between the connection between the mind and the body can be so disconnected, and the disconnection is from the brain. The brain that's just not connected into the alignment of our hearts. Because again, using the example of being pregnant, what's the first thing we hear when we are, yes, we've got modern technology nowadays, but, my midwife used a little Doppler on me when I was 11 weeks pregnant, and we didn't have a scan when my daughter was, in my stomach in the UK. I just heard the and that just brings a feeling of wow. And that's what we forget, especially when we've had a lot of trauma, like you said. As a young kid, I just felt like I took it on, and I had these moments where I just became so responsible for everybody else's feelings, everybody else's emotions, everybody else's journeys, everybody else's stories. And that's where I got caught up in the cycles of the drama.
Right.
And now it's again stepping back into the observer and saying, hang on, what is little Michelle? Is she jumping into this right now? Is she wanting to be the rescuer? Or am I going to allow them to have their own journey? And it's hard sometimes, AJ, because we just, I'm such a natural caregiver, and I love so much that I probably smother people. I just have so much love that I want to give and I want to share, and then people are like, just too much. So I've had to learn
myself drawing from circles, from like social circles, and just people in general, because not that I'm too much. I don't carry that truth with me anymore, but at one point I did, but that's healed. But I notice that my energy around people, because I am so affectionate and I am so loving, it makes people really uncomfortable. Although that's not my problem, I still want to be me. I just have watched myself somewhat withdraw from certain situations, because you when you're working through healing this kind of energy, you have a tendency to want to make everyone happy.
Oh gosh,
Even by
completely.
reducing
Yes.
yourself, right?
Yes.
Making
Yes.
yourself smaller and not so big. And that's something that I'm aware of, that I wouldn't say I'm working on, because I don't feel like there's anything I need to work on. I don't need to change that about me. I need to take the need out of it. Actually, I have a desire to really let that go, because how I make other people feel is one, it's none
None of
of
your
my
business.
business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other is I still want to show up and be myself, but I do understand that makes people uncomfortable. I'm aware of that.
That's what I was going to offer, was we become aware of there's this assumption with myself, and people have gone, oh, Michelle, but you're so intuitive, and how come you didn't get that? And how come you didn't get, and I'm like, give me a break. Like, sometimes I'm just in a human space and I just want to have a glass of wine, I'm not always on. I'm not always reading the energy.
We're not supposed to be.
No.
We're supposed to be human, right?
Yes. And that's sometimes the arrogance, I think, of others. And I say that with judgment, because it clearly is judgmental. But it's like, guys, we're still here to have the human experience of being Michelle the mother, or Michelle the wife, or Michelle the fun person, or Michelle the sporadic person who can just be spontaneous and just woohoo, have a moment, and that for me is in the awareness of, I'm also very affectionate, and because I felt like I lacked it a lot in and my daughter, both my son and my daughter, bless their cotton socks, for choosing me as their mother in this life. Yeah. Like, my daughter's going to university next year, and I kiss her and kiss her. She's like, okay, Mom. I'm like, I'm just getting in kisses for next year when you're not around. And but I've had to read that. I've had to say, okay, I hear you, I get you, and so it's also being respectful of other people's boundaries, or noticing when they may feel uncomfortable in the moment.
Exactly.
As working with human beings, again, in the present moment, especially when I have a client that's here in person, our natural reaction can be, the trauma response is, put the blocks up.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't come and hug me. No, stay away, and in that moment I ask, is it okay? And I'll prepare them. I'll say, I'm coming into your space. I'm just going to hold your hand. When I'm working with clients on Zoom, I'll say, do you have a fluffy toy or a pillow that you can just hold, just as we're working with that little person inside of you? So it's, again, it's like a fine tuning, almost like a golden thread that's very fine, and we've got to navigate that golden thread, and then just watch it, and then every now and again it feels like you want to twirl it, and then stretch it, and then okay, now it feels like it's stronger.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that analogy. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Through your experiences, you have come to channel the Council of Eight. Do you want to share a little bit about that experience, and how did you become connected to this Council of Eight, and how did you know that they were a Council of Eight?
Okay, so initially I did not know that I was connected to them, and they've actually been connected to me from when I was a baby. And I got to see this in a past life regression earlier on. I think it was actually last week or the week before, and it just filled my heart so much. But in Michelle the adult, we immigrated, we came to New Zealand, and I'd always had this. It's very different from when I'm connecting with somebody, a loved one who's passed over, spirit who've passed over. And I always felt that there were other beings talking to me. Mm-hmm. And then the one day in a meditation, I sat and I asked, and I said, well, who are you? I'm very visual at most times. Can you please show me? And they said, within time, right now, we're talking through you. And as they were talking through me, I said, well, can you share with me, who are you? We're angelic beings of light. I was like, okay, well, do you have a name? And slowly but surely, they started showing me that they are beings of light, and they come in different forms and they move all the time. But they gave me the name Council. So in my head, my third eye, I was like, oh, you guys sitting at the table, and you're sitting at the table and you're a council. No, Michelle, that's not how we work. I said, okay, well, can you share more with me? They said, well, we're the council of 8. 8 is an infinity number. And I slowly but surely developed a stronger connection with them. And the more I developed a stronger connection with them, again, my truth became the trust of the knowing that they come through me. Because I started going into little Michelle or teenage Michelle and saying, well, why me? Why are you choosing me? Like everybody else does this. Like no. And they say, well, why not? And I've had to let go a lot of the whys in my life and become accepting that it is, I am. And slowly but surely, when I channel them, I close my eyes and I just become this clear, Michelle goes out and I become this clear channel. And they speak through me. Initially, I was shown that they showed up in the energies of Lady Diana, Gandhi, Mother Mary, Nelson Mandela, and they often said we've walked the earth plains. And then we started having these discussions where I say to them, okay, guys, I like simple. My language is simple. Can we keep it simple? And what is the sharing? And we always go back to love. And that's what I love about them. So in yoga classes, I've gone up into their spaceship. I've seen them. I've seen them as different beings. They've shown me they're Palladian, Octarian. They are different beings of light, but they shift and change. They morph as we do in perhaps our different ways of being or the different parts that we're working on, except I stay, this Michelle, but I might get more of this Michelle as I get older, so I'm morphing as I get older. Not in the way that I want to. Let me just be very clear about that. Okay. Not enough tapping, AJ. Does that work? Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, it's like all kinds of things trying to keep myself young here.
Zoom's a wonderful thing, hey, or being on a computer is a wonderful thing. We look so good. But they've shown me at times that they're here to help humanity, and they're very much connected to the Galactic Federation of Light. And I'm not the only channel. I've seen people send me messages saying, hey, Michelle, I'm also connected to the Council of 8. And I'm like, of course we are. I'm just one of the channels, and everybody is connecting on so many different levels, and hence our telepathic skills are getting stronger. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited to be alive in these times because the elevation is the people are wanting more information. And when I do channel, they share it in the most simplest way, not only about the collective, but if I'm working with a client specifically and a client's got questions that I, in my perception or my understanding or my experiences of life, cannot answer, I'll say, okay, the Council of 8 want to come through. And they answer galactic energy. They answer, anything to do with Akashic records and who, you may be connected to, or anybody that comes through, which star system they come from. That for me is not my information. That's their information. I love to close my eyes because then, like I say, I'm there and then they come through and not take over. That feels incorrect to say that, but they just come through me. And I just see beautiful, beautiful white light.
I was going to ask, what does it feel like when they're sharing your space?
It feels so clear and so calm. And so vibrantly light. You know, I go into this almost this different space of being. I even slow down in the way I talk. You might even hear a little bit of a clicking in the back of my mouth, which I've been told is a dry mouth. And I say, well, yes, but also it's just different. They will speak light language at times, and they whistle and they chant. Mm-hmm. So when they're doing a healing on a client, the vibration that comes through me is not me. And that's how I know that the connection is, it's like anything, growing our intuition, trusting that knowing. And that's where slowly but surely over a period of time, in the last sort of 3.5, 4 years, it's become stronger and stronger. Mm-hmm. And I feel incredibly blessed to be able to be one of the channels that they are working with at this moment.
I think it would be really amazing to have that experience. To just, I mean, absolutely. I don't even know if amazing it would be strong enough, that feeling or how that feels like for you. When you're channeling, are you aware of what's being shared through you? Are you off to the side listening, or is it something you go back and watch and receive the information that way?
I have to go back and watch and receive the information. I remember snippets of it. I remember little bits of it, especially, afterwards with a client. But if I do my YouTube channelings, I have to sit and rewatch because I don't remember. And I actually prefer it that way. I don't know why, because I know I have another friend who channels and she remembers things verbatim. And I had to stop that comparison because I was like, why? And I just got why not? Do you want to remember all the information? And I'd say, well, you're wasting my time at times because I have to rewatch this, guys. So I remember words, and when I am channeling, like even if I'm writing a description, I get specific words, and it's just the most beautiful, beautiful experience. It really, really is. And if you'd like, I can ask them to come through, and I don't know how much more time we've got.
Oh, we still have time. We still have quite a bit. Let's see. We still have a good 20, 25 minutes. So
okay. So would you?
If they do have something to share with us, I would imagine everyone would love to have that experience.
Great. Okay. So what I do is I close my eyes and I take a few breaths, and then they normally say we are ready. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. They normally have a bit of a monologue first, and then they may even ask you if you have a question. Okay.
Well, before you begin, I just want everyone in the chat room, if you do have any questions, pop them in capital letters, and I'll ask them when the floor is open to do so. And also, we have other questions from before this that I'll get to as well. But
awesome.
Thank you, Michelle.
We are ready. We are what you humans would term delighted to be with you in your presence today, AJ, and your viewers and your listeners and everyone else that is connected to what you humans would term this platform. We are showing up today as we call it today, as we are coming through Michelle, and she is in daytime, as we are aware that you are in nighttime. And we are sharing this as we feel that it is important to let all of you know collectively that isn't it interesting to be a human in what you humans are terming these times. We do not know time. We have no time. We come through, Michelle, right now in this present moment. Yet humans observe time. We know that this is what you humans would term a very real experience in the emotions that you carry. And we applaud and we smile through Michelle to say, We thank you. 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 We thank you collectively for the change. The change is happening. Yes, it is. Not the change is going to happen. As Michelle is sitting in daytime and you are in nighttime, the change is happening. Is it not, AJ?
Okay.
And what we say to you is we are noticing that many humans at times are feeling discombobulated. And we say it in the way that we say it, as many humans are noticing that they are not within their knowing and within their light. They are unsure. So when one is feeling unsure, it is as simple as saying to oneself, how does it feel to be sure? So what we say to you is that this is a time in humanity where so much is being shifted. It is as almost as if you are putting your hands in the soil, in the ground, and you are turning and turning and turning and turning and turning and putting amazing soil, and turning and turning and turning and turning, and then putting another amazing soil or fertilizer or whatever you humans, or it could be worm tea, or it could be earthworms, or it could be organic, whatever you want to term it. What we say to you is that there is a turning. There is an uprising. This is the change of how we are seeing and showing up for humanity. It is a very necessary time. It is a very necessary time to let go of what does not serve you no longer. Many of you are holding on to what we would term old baggage, old ways of being. When one is being, they are not being out. We hope this makes sense. Is there a question for us, please?
I have a question. Is the vibration of these human experiences rising even with all of the heaviness that is occurring at this time?
The simple answer is yes. And when one is determining within the emotion of the heaviness, one is being weighed down, are they not? And what we say to you collectively is that those of us, those of you, those of everyone that is here are the humans that are noticing the subtle changes. We are nudging, we are slowly pushing from behind, above, to the sides, below. We are all connecting through the different channels to share the information. So yes, humanity, Mother Gaia, feels heavy, correct. Yet, as we were giving you how it is as simple as soil that needs to be turned. When soil is compacted down and it is hard and it perhaps has clay in it, it needs to be nurtured, does it not? So, hence, what are you adding to the soil? What are you adding? And please notice how we use Michelle's hands. What are you adding to this soil? What are you adding? What are you all individually doing to stay in and not be in the heaviness? Does this answer your question, please?
Yes. How can we raise our vibration?
Be in more joy. When one is connecting into the negativity of the change, as the change is very necessary, yet you are able to be in joy, yet send love. The joy is there, yet the joy is here. Humans have forgotten what it's like to be in joy. Hence, we are showing you that it is out. Yet when one is connecting into the vibration of negativity, when one is connecting into the wormholes of unsureness, one is not sure, are they? So notice when you are feeling as if you are being pulled, and bring yourself back into the pureness of your heart vibration, which only has a knowing of love, which only has a knowing. It is that simple. Do you notice how we went quiet? It has its knowing. Every human is walking their path in order for the change to happen, AJ. And yes, there will be displacement. Yes, there will be volatility. Yes, there will be riots. Yes, there will be uprisings. This is a very necessary time for the shifts and change to happen. Not changes, for the shifts and change to happen. We hope this makes sense.
Beautiful. I have a listener question. How does one overcome and achieve that joy?
Smile. Play music that is higher vibration. Dance. Becoming aware of how you are noticing the different contractions in your vibration. When one is smiling and another human reciprocates the smile, what happens in that moment? If we were to use Michelle's mouth as we are, and her teeth, do you think that you could not smile right now? Laughter is key. Music is key. This lifts people's human vibrations. Yet, many humans, even ones that are listening right now, enjoy listening to music that brings them down, that shifts their vibration. They may be joyful, yet they listen to a song that takes them back to an old memory, and that brings them down. It is as simple as flicking the switch. So as you and Michelle had connected in this wonderful podcast that you humans term these connections, you became the teacher in that moment as you helped her to feel calm as she was out there. She was not in joy. She was out there and she had to bring herself back. And you became the teacher, so we thank you for staying within. This is how simple and how quick it can happen on one's journey. Smile more, thank each other more. Being kind, being honorable, being in integrity. All those human experiences, emotions, words. Be kind with your words. Be compassionate to others that are. We are consciously aware as to how we say this. There is a disparity that will be aligning for many different humans. There are many different humans that will feel the heaviness of the vibration of earth, and they may not want to stay. So there will be grieving, there will be loss. And we are now talking in the future, as this is the change. This is part of the shift. Yet we want to be very clear. This is not about bringing people into fear. You have all already felt very unwavering in yourselves, have you not? With the changes that have been going on within the last 2.5 years, have you not? So when one is within their heart space, their breath, one is within their knowing. Do you have another question for us, please?
No, thank you.
We thank you for this moment in time of deep connection. May we please gift you with a vibrational healing?
Yes, please.
Please may you take a big breath in, and everyone that is connected to us right now. We thank you for all your connections, and we are honoring you from the highest of highs. Namaste, AJ.
Namaste. That is something else, Michelle.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
It is, they are.
thank you for being a vessel in order for them to share with us tonight. It was very beautiful and
Thank you.
very much needed.
Thank you.
I'll
And
definitely go back and listen. It's one thing to hold space and be present, but have the opportunity to be a witness in another way.
yeah.
Yay for technology.
Yeah. Correct. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. We only have a few moments left, and I don't mean to rush, but I do want to get to our listener questions, and we did have 2 tonight. One is there a connection with her kind of your kind? Is there a connection with Michelle's kind of ability and magnetic healing?
So if I could ask this listener, yes, if I could ask this listener, if I could please, would she be kind enough to give us her name? Or do you have the name?
His name is Timothy.
Timothy, okay. And would Timothy be okay if I connect into his field?
Okay. I hope he's still with us. This was a question asked earlier, so we'll wait just a moment.
Okay.
And we only have about 4 more minutes. So.
Okay. So yes, everything is magnetic. I have a statement and a saying. So I won't go there with Tim, just based on timing. But we can either choose to be, and excuse my expression, a shit magnet, where we just attract. The fact that Tim is here on your radio station would show and indicate to me that he is a high vibrational being. That there may just be a bit of a kink in his wheel at the moment, that he's wanting more, but it just feels like he's just not too sure, like he's on that edge of the cliff and he's just not too sure right now.
He's here with us.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There's a frequency. There's a frequency that he's let him know. Well, he can hear me, but he's at the tip. He's got to take the leap. He's got to take the jump of faith in him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an alignment in the energy with you, with me, with your listeners. There's an alignment. That's the frequency that he's brought into his field.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got to stop with the SH1T. It's got to just go. whatever that looks like. Sorry, that's what I'm just being shown. Because we can pull it into our space very easily. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. And to
Hope
me,
that helps them.
that answer helps you. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. And one more quick question. Do you think manifestation plays a big role in your life?
In my life, 100%, yes. At the same time, it's the intention that I set for myself in this very moment. So how I see myself in the future is how I see myself here, right now, in this moment. So, Kane, it's kind of like pinch me, because I know I'm here, but I'm not, if that makes sense. But it's like 100%. We get to manifest our absolute dreams.
Yeah.
But you got to feel it. You got to believe it. You got to know it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to feel it with the absolute vibration of joy.
Yeah. I love that you shared that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I love the power of manifestation. I used to think it was hokey, and when people would talk about it, I thought they were silly.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah.
So
What
I
does that
actually
mean?
put my mind to it and had experiences that validated the truth for me. I can't imagine living any other way now.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's amazing. All of the things that you shared with us, the Council of Eight shared with us. What a beautiful experience to share time and space with you tonight.
Thank you, AJ.
I want to make sure everyone is able to get in touch with you because you do offer different opportunities to spend time with you. And also, you have a YouTube channel where you have a lot of great videos on there. I want them to be able to find you there as well. So, how can they do so?
Great. So, Michelle Carpenter Medium on YouTube, at Mish Medium on Facebook. You've been kind enough to put the different links up. Thank you. Yes. Sometimes I second guess myself. I'm like, am I Michelle Carpenter? Or, anyway, but overall, if anybody would like to connect in terms of having a session, my email address is michelle@michellecarpenter.co.nz, or NZ, I believe some Americans say.
Yes.
And please connect with me, send me a message, and I will look at the time zones. And if you feel I can help you or walk with you on this path, or even connect to a loved one who's passed over, it's my absolute honor and my absolute pleasure and privilege to help you find that internal light, because it's there. Sometimes it's just flickering, but I'm like, let's get it burning, man. Let's help you to feel it.
And sometimes we just need some validation
For
or
sure.
permission that we are worth having those experiences.
Yes.
So having someone in your corner is really a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
It sounds like you're that type of cheerleader that would be able to assist someone in that way.
Thank you. I hope that I can be somebody's cheerleader, because it's like that belief that we've all got it, and I never give up on anybody, because if I can do it, if you can do it, no matter how hectic our trauma has been, there's purpose in all of that. We've just got to nudge through it in order to feel that most amazing feeling. And that's when those synchronicities happen, AJ. You know, where you said a few times tonight, you're just in it, and life just leads us. It just takes us.
It does. I love the ebb and flow. I'm so grateful for it. It brought you to us, and I'm in gratitude for that very much.
Thank you from my heart to yours. I'm really, I was looking so forward to this, and I'm so blessed. I really, really am. So thank you for all that you do for all of us.
Thank you
for having me.
If you stick around just a moment after the show closes, I have a question for you, okay?
Great, no problem.
And to all of you, my wanderers, so much gratitude for you as well. Thank you for spending another week with us. Be good to yourself and be good to each other, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.
Guys, thank you.